One of the questions I get asked a lot in the comments is that should we still learn data science or should we pursue a different field? And people have different reasons for asking this question. Some people have a concern that despite applying to thousands of jobs for many months, they are still not getting any response, which probably means that the field of data science is coming to an end and should they move to another tech field? Some people are concerned about the advancements of AI and if AI is going to automate a lot of what data scientists do, which would mean there would be no or very few jobs left for data scientists in the future. So they are concerned about that. And some people have this argument that the role of data scientists didn't exist 20 years ago. So going into the future, would this role still be there? Or with the changes of technology, it is possible that the role of data science actually gets eliminated. I'll be sharing my thoughts on all of these based on my 10 plus years of experience working as a data scientist for some of the biggest tech names in the world and based on my interactions with a lot of senior as well as aspiring data scientists, what I think my view on all these three concerns is. And then at the end, I'll be sharing my thoughts on based on all that information that should you still be pursuing data science career or switching to a different field. So let's look at the first concern, which I think is a very legitimate concern right now, which is that people are applying for hundreds, even thousands of jobs for many months in a row, and they are not getting any recruiter calls, any interview schedule. And understandably, when you get that kind of rejection for that long period of time, you definitely think about reconsidering the path you are taking. So let's look at some of the data points to see that where the data science job market currently stands and where it is going in future, and if there is an alternative path within the tech industry which data scientists can jump to if they are having a hard time getting a data science job. So first, let's look at this graph from TrueApp where they are showing the number of open jobs and how they're changing with time. You can clearly see there has been a lot of drop in the last 2 years. And when you look at this graph again from the same source, which is telling you that how many people have been laid off in the tech industry in the last 2-3 years, you can get a very clear sense of how the tech industry overall is doing. First graph shows you that the number of open jobs have decreased a lot. The second job shows you that a lot of people who already had a job were let go, which means they're also competing for the same pool of jobs, which is slimming. Now, of course, because of this, there is a lot of competition for tech jobs right now. There just are not enough positions and a lot of candidates who are applying for these jobs. Everyone in the tech industry is going through a hard time right now, but the tech industry, just like any industry, is cyclical in nature. If it is going down right now, you'll see in the future it will start going up again. But let's look specifically about data science and ML job trend. So this source again from TrueUp shows you that what are the number of open jobs specifically for AI ML roles. So when you look at these two sources together, you can see in the last 2 years, overall number of tech jobs have reduced a lot, but we are seeing a very positive trend for AI ML roles, which includes data science. Now, it doesn't mean that getting a data science job is easy because as we are seeing relatively more jobs being posted, the competition for AI ML roles is also increasing with every passing day because AI is a big hype and everyone wants to get into it. So right now getting a job as a data scientist is difficult, but hopefully things will improve in the future as the interest rates go down. Let's look at some other data sources mainly coming from Bureau of Labor and Statistics in the US. Now the US government has probably the biggest amount of data available for analysis, and the job of Bureau and Labor Statistics Department is to analyze those trends and make future predictions. And when you look at their website, you can see that they have detailed report about different kind of tech job, and also they have some prediction about how much increase or decrease they see about them in the future. For example, when we look at the role of web developers, it shows that it is projected to grow at an 8% level, which is faster than average. Let's look at another role of computer programmers. Now here we see a negative forecast for future, which means that they think based on the data they have available to them that the number of jobs for computer programmers will be going down in future, could be because of the advancements in AI. But now let's look at the job category which is closest to data science and see what the projected growth there is. It is a whopping 26%, much higher than average. So even within the realm of tech, where they're comparing different tech jobs, data science, AI, ML related jobs are a clear winner in terms of what the projection looks like for them in future. So now let's come to the second concern, that is AI going to take over most of the data science jobs or not? I can tell you from my first-hand experience, I've been in some of the companies which had massive layoffs recently, including Meta and Cisco. And I can tell you with absolute certainty, there is not a single person who is laid off because their role was impacted by AI. Also, I use most of the AI tools on pretty much day-to-day basis, including getting its help to write code. And I can tell you it is clearly not at a level. It can definitely assist to some level, but definitely not at a rate of replacement. Even the best AI engineer available to write code, Devon AI, its performance is only 14% compared to a human software engineer according to their own benchmarks. So AI is definitely not there in terms of taking over data science job. In future, it is not going to happen, at least in the near future. And even if you think 5, 10, 20 years down the line, most of these things will be automated, then what are the other options you can consider? You can see that the jobs of just being a computer programmer, it is expected to go down. And then if AI is something you are concerned about that it's going to take over other jobs, then what is a better place than being an AI expert so that you could become a part of that transformation? Now coming to the third concern, which is that the role of data science did not exist 20 years ago, or there were like minimal jobs for that. Then is it possible that in the future, maybe 10, 15 years down the line, the role of data science will again become eliminated or non-existent as it was before? Now to share my thoughts on that, let me share with you what I think the definition of the role of data scientist is. My definition of data scientist is someone who helps solve business problems using the power of data. Now when we look at the role of data scientist from this perspective, let's see that what the future looks like for data science roles. Now one thing which we are almost certain about is that the amount of data is going to only increase in the future. Most of the interactions are becoming digital, which means the data for that is captured. More and more devices are becoming smart devices, which means they are producing all sort of data, and we have enough communication in terms of internet so that data could be transmitted and shared, and our ability to store that data is also increasing. All this to mean that in the future we are going to see a big rise in the amount of data which is available. So now we know that the amount of data is going to increase in the future. So now let's look at the second aspect of this definition, which is helping solve business problems. Now some people might argue that as AI becomes more capable and as the world becomes more prosperous, we'll have lesser business problems to solve. I think that is definitely not true. Having worked at some of the big companies which had billions of dollars to spend, let me share a personal story on that. When I joined Meta in 2021, I had this perception that since Meta had a lot of money to spend and they have the best AI, best tooling, and probably the smartest engineers in the world, they must have solved all the problems they could potentially have. But when I went in there and started working on the actual projects, I very quickly realized that even companies like Meta, who had almost infinite amount of resources, they still have much bigger problems to solve, which are very challenging even given a lot of resource powers they have. Every person and every business in the world has problems to solve. And just because you have AI or a good amount of resources and you are able to solve some of them, solving problems breeds more problems, which are even more challenging. So as the world grows, there would be more businesses, there will be more prosperity, and that would mean there would be even more bigger and more challenging business problems to solve. So now we know there would be more problems in the future. We know there would be more data in the future. Now let's look at, would our ability to solve this problem going to increase or decrease with time? I think the answer is very obvious. Our ability to solve these business problems using the vast amount of data which we currently have available, and it is going to increase in future, our ability to solve this problem is also going to increase. Mainly because of two things. One, that even at this level, we have some very advanced algorithms and knowledge about how we can draw useful insights out of that data. And that knowledge is only going to increase in future as we do more research on it. And most importantly, our ability to use this data to solve business problems is going to increase because of further advancements in the compute power available to us. This is what Moore's law said way back, that the number of transistors in an IC are going to double almost every 2 years. Or in other words, our ability to compute is going to double every 2 years with minimal amount of increase in the cost. That looked impossible way back then, because when you are talking about doubling something every 2 years, the amount of increase you can see in it is just astronomical. Just to give you an example on the power of doubling, if you take a piece of paper and then you fold it, you can see that the thickness slightly increases. But if you double it again and again, every time you double it, the thickness thickness increases. They say that if you have paper big enough that you can just fold it 42 times, then the thickness of that paper would be equivalent to the distance from the earth all the way to the moon. And if you are able to turn it again, then it will be equivalent to the distance of from earth to the moon and back. This is the power of doubling. And according to the Moore's law, our ability to double the compute power with minimal amount of cost changes every 2 years is phenomenal. Now recently we have seen that we are not just doubling every 2 years, the rate has slowed down a little, but still our ability to compute is only going in one direction, which is positive. So in nutshell, in future we'll have a lot more data, we'll have a lot more compute power, and we'll have more and interesting business problems to solve. So according to this definition, the role of data scientist only going to grow in the future. Now just because there's a lot of demand for the role of data scientist doesn't mean that it will be very easy to get a job, because getting a job is not just a function of demand, it is also a function of supply. And supply, as we see in pretty much every other thing, it goes through cycles. Sometimes when there is a lot of demand and not enough supply, as we have seen in the year 2020 and 2021, people who are in the profession benefit from it a lot. They earn a lot of money, there are a lot of jobs which they can get, and that inspires a lot of people from outside to come into the market. And as those people from outside come into the market, now there is a lot more supply, so everyone starts struggling. And when that struggle happens, a lot of people leave, and that means there is again lower supply, and people who are still in it enjoy from it, and when they enjoy from it, the cycle repeats again because people from outside again start coming in. So this is just a nature of how the free form market operates. There are cycles and there will be cycles in the future, but just looking at the demand side, I have no doubt in my mind that the number of data science roles are only going to increase further and further as we go into the future. So being a data scientist in 2025 or in future years is definitely worth it. Currently we are going through a hard time, but just like every other time, hard times won't last. And the best way to use this hard time is just double down on your preparation, so that when the times get right, you are also in the right position to land the best job possible. I've shared in the description my free guide on how to prepare for data science in the shortest possible time. The link for that is in the description. And if you want to see my further breakdown on how the data science job market is currently doing, what are the factors which are impacting it, and most importantly, how soon can we see the data science job market coming back to its glorious future, please check out this video. Thank you so much for watching.